Congratulations, Internet. You found it. It's our 1-year anniversary of 15 days to flatten the curve. Woo! Who knew the curve was America? I'm Michael Loftus, and across the continent, who are you?
I'm COVID-free Judd Dunning.
Let's keep it that way. Welcome to an all-new Bullet Point Nation. You give us 15 minutes, we're going to give you a lifetime of insight and comedy. Judd, what are the bullet points for tonight?
The bullet points all baked up and ready to go, Michael Loftus. Bullet point number 1, 100% open for business and no mask. Biden calls the open states people of Texas and Mississippi Neanderthals.
Uh-oh, he's slinging mud down Texas way. Bullet point number dose?
Bam! You got to stall a little bit because you want to laser in there. I always delay my shots. Israel goes all 1984 with the freedom bracelet.
Seems like we're going to have opinions on that. Bullet point number 3.
Bullet point number 3, good old Nancy. I won't step on that because that's your signature brand. The Democrat-led House passes H.R. 1 aimed to federalize the U.S. elections. Hopefully the Senate's going to kill it.
We could do a whole show just on that. But bullet point numero 4.
Who's behind the curtain in Oz? White House cuts video feed after Joe Biden boldly goes off script and says, I'll take a few questions.
Oh, my goodness, my goodness. Okay, then we're going to have to promote some stuff, and then hopefully you've got a saucy wild card picked out.
Well, to be determined. You're a tough one.
All right. Well, we should probably roll some sweet graphics.
Let's do that model pose.
Okay, I'm totally stoked about this one. So much to cover, but as always, boom, boom, boom. We got to keep it moving, Judd Dunning. So bullet point number 1. We're gonna set the clock. We're gonna stick to our time. Don't make me come over there and throat punch you. we got a limited time. We're gonna hear the bell. We're gonna move on. So bullet point number 1.
Bullet point number 1. 100% open to business and no mask. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Texas, woo, is open for business, no mask. Followed by Mississippi, Florida on the cusp. A few other states are following. Crazy news. San Francisco is opening up bars and restaurants before Los Angeles. And the People's Republic of San Francisco is now taking the lead in California. So the nation is opening up. And, in that power grab, we have so many Democrats that are just holding on to that power. And Biden calls us Neanderthal thinking, and then he refers to double masking. So, good old geriatric Grandpa Joe, he's a little worried about getting sick, and he should be because he's in frail condition. But America, we're excited. It's crazy how this smug, elitist, dare I say, I won't use the D-bag word because it's tasteless, but I will say he's a power-mad, smug, elitist the way he referred to us as Neanderthals. So we're wanting to get open and back to business. Michael Loftus.
Well, you know what? If being Neanderthal means being free, count me in. I'm 100% knuckle dragon Neanderthal. And listen, all they did down in Texas was lift the mandate. If you're still scared, you can stay home. If you want a double mask, triple mask, and tape your butt shut with duct tape, you can do all of that. You can still cower in fear, but everybody else can roll around. Now, if Joe does want to complain, if there is a safety issue to be addressed, I think it's probably the open border. I think it's probably the thousands and thousands of people coming from who knows where. They're not even tested. The other day, a busload of like 108 COVID positive illegal immigrants just took off for Lord knows where. I think that might be a little bit more important. Neanderthal.
Thank you, Dan. I love meat and women. Listen, MS-13 infected dreamers coming across the border is not exactly my dream of the. We have deconstructed so much progress the board. It's crazy. And I don't think Neanderthals need their wife to know what to say on television, right? If you ain't a Neanderthal, you ain't a Democrat. I don't know what Joe is doing right now, man. It's like, yes, it is difficult to run a country. It is difficult to run, and we get it. I understand what they're trying to do, but think about it, man. This guy's logging off quickly, escaping the heat of making these decisions. When Trump used to stay on the stage for hours and hours and lead and lead and lead and open up our nation, but he's shaming America right now. So that's the new guard. You guys voted for him, not Mike and I.
And I'd say what, if you are a Neanderthal down in Texas, I bet you were happy you knew how to make fire when those windmills froze up.
Wait, I have to end with this. I thought this is really interesting. Reports are saying that the first 40% of vaccine recipients in Mississippi, the open state, will be determined by housing status, age, race, and other profiling statistics. In other words, not a great place to be a white man if you're trying to get in line for a vaccine, because the Democrats are going to be doling it out where they see fit. It's scary. Government is in the middle of the vaccine in the open states. What's happened to America?
I don't think anybody wants to complain about being at the back of the line of the vaccine. I'm banking on them running out by the time I get to the front.
Yeah, 48% of black people and 60% of health practitioners are like, I'm not taking the vaccine. We're like,
I'm good.
That's not a good sign.
He can go. He can have my spot. All right. Bullet point number 2.
Bullet point number 2. Producer, what was that, a 22? You got a 44 in there? All right, Israel goes all 1984, the freedom bracelet. So what a week to see Netanyahu sitting there boldly getting the vaccine, telling people to put this thing in their body, when so many people are concerned about this. And if you know Israel, they do have a socialist democratic split in them. They definitely still have that collectivism from for the kibbutz and the way that the state takes care of the religious. I mean, a lot of that's imbued in their society. But talk about, they're signing off on iris identification. You can't go to church, temple or whatever. You can't, or whatever, just the Jewish religion that birthed our nation. You can't go to temple. You can't go to businesses. You can't travel. They're signing off on this freedom pass. And this is just like, this is what we were afraid of. I can't believe that our passionate Democratic sister has jumped off so quickly.
If you would have told me 2 years ago that there was a freedom bracelet and you needed this thing for freedom of movement in Israel, I would have told you, hey, congratulations on your job at the Babylon Bee, or congratulations on your job at the Onion. Like, of all the people on this earth who you think, where it's going to be a tough sell, if some kind of marking or something the Jewish people need to have to show, it reeks of Nazi Germany. How did this idea get out of committee? You know what we should do? We should have maybe an armband? Would that be a good thing? It's just not.
Or a tattoo, let's just do a tattoo with numbers with a certain type of tropical ink. I mean, biometrics are the new papers from the show me the paper Nazi era. Yeah. Man. It's crazy. I agree with you. Jews are signing off on this. Their next diaspora is going to send them out into a globalist world. This is so crazy.
Yeah. And whenever they give something a name like freedom bracelet, freedom is the thing they're taking away, right? It's like, hey, the Patriot Act. If you're not a patriot, you'll want this. It's always the equal and opposite. I don't like the freedom bracelet. I don't want one.
Well, but on a serious note, they are setting up a horrible standard of tolerance in the world. I know people that think that microchips and Bill Gates tracking devices are going in there. I mean, people are worried about, and after the election process we just went through and big tech and all this stuff that, a year ago when we started the show, we were like, oh, this potentially risky thing could happen. Like everything that you and I have predicted has actually come true. It's let's not be tracked, and let's travel. Traveling the world as a powerful, protected America is part of the American dream.
Amen. Bullet point number 3.
Bullet point number 3, Michael Loftus. Nancy, Democrat-led House, passes in the House H.R. 1, the most devastating, rights rapacious, dangerous bill I think to ever have passed our desk in our lifetime, aimed to federalize U.S. elections. So she got out this morning. I'll let you start on this, and I'll tell you a little bit of my thoughts on when she announced it this morning.
Well, I'm going to need some visual help. I'm going to need you to click along for a few slides, Let's take a look at oh, there she is. Here's the scary thing about HR1. That's House Resolution 1. That's the most important thing. That's the thing that they just really want to jam down our throats. This whole thing scares me. Like Nancy Pelosi, we can make fun of the way she talks and all of that lovely stuff, but she is an assassin. Listen, they know they only have a very short time to completely get through everything they want. They've got 2 years because Nancy's been here, done that. They're gonna lose the House. That's a given. So they have this little window where every socialist idea they have to cram it in. I'm really scared of this HR1, which I call HE double hockey sticks one, because that's what it would turn America into, a socialist hell. If they make these sweeping election changes, they want 16-year-olds to vote. Can you remember when you were 16? I shouldn't have voted for high school prom king. I didn't have it together.
Really? That fast? Give us 2 more. Oh no, she was just celebrating. She was just celebrating your time in high school. Crafty producer.
Listen, a lot of us still do. A lot of us still celebrate my time in high school.
I peaked in high school, and I'm proud of it. You know, I'm 100% with you, man.
Hold on. If you thought this last election was horrible, HR1 is that times a cajillion. We have to stop this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I give the floor to you.
Oh, well, no, listen, we're on the same page. It's a long floor from California to New York. I think that's a bad song somewhere. It's 1,000-year Reich, right? That's how it feels. Like they're trying to establish control. I jokingly said this. What's next? The night of long knives sequel. As we're talking about these themes that we learned in World War II. I mean, if they take the vote, freedom of press, freedom of speech, guns, right, and then religion, and then replace the state with a religion. And unfortunately, the agenda of the progressive left kind of hits on all of those classic elements to expand socialism and take control. And HR1 would actually take control. We would make all these people pouring into our borders actually be able to vote, 16-year-olds would be able to vote. Ballots wouldn't be as time controlled. They say it's not going to pass in the Senate. But let me tell you, this is what threw me today, Michael. Right after she presented it, she pivoted in the middle. It's going to be a great for the people. And by the way, in the words that we heard from George Floyd and America moving forward, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I'm like, whoa, babe. I go, you just pivoted from the American vote to using the most weaponized 3 words of racial division today, smiling, and maybe underneath there, her eyes were smiling, in order to get us to pivot right off to push the bill through. I don't know if you caught that, but that was horrible politics today.
Well, this goes right back to the whole freedom bracelet. When the Democrats come up with, like, we're going to change the voting rights and it's called for the people, you know it's not for all the people. It's for the people who are in power, called the Democrats. And that is it. The rest of the people will suffer. And and their ideas are just so great. Let's just I can't.
You're doing it though. You're breaking down the lexicon, and that's what Bullet Points is about. Thanks for everyone coming. Mike, you're attacking like the words freedom and for the people. I mean, the left they don't care about what they say anymore. All they care about is power. All they care about is winning. And all they care about is their elitist agenda. They don't care about us. Trump cared about us. It was a period for the conservatives where we cared about, and you've got to watch the languaging. The red flags are right in front of us. They just keep throwing it in front of us. So that was really appreciate you, man. You keep nailing it. And moving on.
Bullet point number 4.
Moving on, this adrenaline pumping show.
It is.
Lord,
it's a train ride. It's a train ride.
I'm in limbic impairment right now. Okay, bullet point number 4. Who's behind the curtain in Oz? White House cuts video feed after Joe Biden boldly goes off script and says, hey, I'll take a few questions if you let me take a few questions. Should I take a few questions now there? And then, but the thing about that was his first unassisted interview in the entire term of his formal presidency. 42 shared interviews until they let him go alone, and then they cut it off. Michael Loftus.
I'm gonna have to slap you around for the slides again. You're dropping the ball on the slides.
Man, I tell you, it's the limbic impairment.
We're talking about Joey Biden there. Listen, I want to make fun of Joe Biden. As a comedian, I want to unleash with both barrels. But it's like, if it was your grandfather and he was doing this kind of thing around the Thanksgiving dinner table, you wouldn't do it because I'll take questions now if that's what I'm supposed to do. Is that what I'm supposed to do? It's not a good look. It's not a good look. And he's wringing his hands. He's always rubbing his hands now, and it's not good. None of this is good. I think he set like a new world record for not speaking to the American people since he was sworn in as president, because he got, Judd, 81 million votes. Thank you, producer. It's not good. They're terrified of leaving it. Listen, we're looking at President Kamala Harris, I think, in the next 6 months.
It's scary, extreme, protected liberal. I mean, yes, she has some Jamaican, African blood in her, but her parents are far from what Joe sold as good old PA, Scranton, PA Joe. You know, come on, man. She is on steroids. And they're saying there's I've been reading information. Like, I've always thought Obama was behind this overall progressive movement, like Trump is now. So now there's two shadow presidents behind Biden because Trump's running half the nation at the same time. But I heard, Hillary Clinton is apparently right in there with Kamala. We really have to watch the structure of the elites. They're extremely advanced people at getting what they want, and their infrastructure is deep. So who is behind the curtain is the real question. And she's on, she's killing it. But wait, I'll say genderless. Sorry, it's on or they are on, because the young person who doesn't want to be identified to hear the show. After you, Mike.
It's really disconcerting, and it's almost like a bizarre deja vu, because the left, during the Trump presidency would like, oh, we got to do the 25th Amendment. He's not fit to serve, and I'm sitting over here thinking we got to do the 25th Amendment, like. I think he needs to be tested, and it's just like, I don't know who's putting it up to him. Like, why? If it was a boxing match, you'd throw in the towel. You're looking at his wife, you're looking at Jill, and like, why are you making him do this? He doesn't like it. He just wants soup. He
makes Reagan look like an 18-year-old in his last year. I mean, he is rough, man. How are we allowing that as far as the mental health required? It really was just a power move, I mean, mail-in, I'm not going to go into Dominion or anything, but just the mail-in ballots, the lack of scrutiny, the deadlines, the distorting America. You and I were talking about the show where everybody turned to the camera and said, remember to vote early, vote now, whatever you do. And we're like, wait a minute, we just asked you a question about border security and the debt, but vote, you should vote now. And it was like, wow. And it works. They got us.
Well, yeah, I think it's a terrible power that we've seen unleashed. You can take someone who's in decline like Joe Biden, but if the Democrats in office try to hold him up, and then the liberal media and the legacy media holds him up, and they convince America that the other guy is the devil himself, you get sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe. And I think his good hair sniffing days might be behind him.
Does not pass the sniff test. You got to beat that up forever.
All right,
here we are. Excitingly, give us what's a promo time sound? It is a gun. What's happening in the gray matter, producer? What's this? What? She's like, sorry. There we go. Cash.
There you go.
Cash is in, for good Lord's sake. There, medical marijuana is popular. All right. So, Michael, tell us what's going on in your life. What's happening in the world of Loftus and the Loftus Party and Netflix and your show?
Well, the Netflix show went great. The Crew, the #1 original Netflix show last week for its premiere, so that's great. And there's not politics in that. Like, if you just want to watch a show and be entertained and leave the politics somewhere else, The Crew is a great show for that. My stand-up special is doing gangbusters over at Fox Nation, and I'm busy at the loftusparty.com. Like you, Judd, I wear many, many hats, but I haven't written a book, and I didn't go to CPAC.
That's true. That's true. Hopefully the hats don't cut off the circulation for full cranial expression of our lives, because those hats are pretty heavy lately. Michael, it's amazing. It's an honor. Listen, I've known you for a long time. I pursued Michael to come do a show at our studio. Here we are, 100 plus million episodes, and it's been a great journey. And you're just blowing up. So it's great. Congratulations, first of all, because we live in a meritocracy. Gosh darn it. No
Yes.
safety net, no ceiling. And every morning, Michael Loftus puts on his pants and look at you. Okay, I'm going to stop drinking coffee, but you are doing great. So on this side of the screen, yeah, we had a great time at CPAC. I just want to let everybody know it was not a white nationalist, racist super spreading event with a Nazi stage, according to CNN and MSNBC. I've never been Orlando, so it was down by Disney, sans any pedophilia symbolism on the rides. It was just normal Orlando at the Marriott, and I'm not a big fan of Disney World because you know what's going on with Disney. No, okay, and that's a whole different episode. Okay, so but it was great on the inside. It was the most rational, clear, constitutional, positive. I'm going to write an article on it. Look for it on my Newsmax Insiders. And what's interesting about it wasn't Trump worship. It was constitutional brushing off, alignment, positivity. Nobody was being vindictive toward the left. It was actually one of the most noble, interesting, and intellectual events. I did 22 shows for the book, and I got a lot of great conversations. So highly recommend it. I know you've been a lot. It was a great time.
Yeah. Funny little sidebar. Some group brought in a golden statue of Trump.
Yes.
Did you see that thing?
I did.
Okay. So one of the guys who's one of the writers at the LoftusParty.com went in front of that statue, and to make fun of it, he was pretending to worship at it.
Oh no.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. People I'm like, dude, they're not gonna get the joke. They're not gonna get the joke. And they didn't. He's like, it became a meme. So there's actually a great article about that at theloftusparty.com. All right, let's wrap up this wild show with a wild card. What are we going to be talking about now?
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Oh, this is going to be sexy.
The Seuss is loose, Michael Loftus. So as we know, what an intense period of time. There's a war on Dr. Seuss. We're all watching. By the way, nothing better for book sales than having a liberal war on a children's book, because the Seuss dynasty is killing it right now. But let me tell you a little bit about the details, so people specifically know what happened. In yet another episode of cancel culture cacophony, several books by Dr. Seuss, including To Think and What I Saw on Mulberry Street, and If I Ran to the Zoo, will no longer be published due to racist and insensitive imagery, as one has an Asian character with slanty eyes wearing a conical hat, which I will with chopsticks, which means I will never do that impersonation again on this show. And the other one, I Ran for the Zoo, includes a drawing of two barefoot men, black men with or a brown color, with grass skirts and bare feet and their hair up in a bun, which I just said it looks like a typical day on aisle 3 at Whole Foods after my yoga class in Santa Monica. I mean, that's it. And that's what happened. I mean, they basically have said on the suggested reading list nationally that they're not going to have these books on there because there's a Chinese guy looking like the archetypal Chinese guy, and there's some brown people looking like they like grass skirts.
Well, here's the really bad part of this. This is a targeted effort to get Dr. Seuss. This has been coming on for years. So it's really, in the larger picture of it, you can target the most pure, like Dr. Seuss. That's like those books and like the Star-Bellied Sneetches and the Lorax. They're so about equality and environmentalism and all of this. It's to go after that. Like, what is the upside other than to prove we can take the most pure thing and bring it down? When they come after Dr. Seuss, I wish this was funnier, but when they come after Dr. Seuss, the Bible's on the horizon. They will and you can go, I'm sorry, it was written 2,000 years ago. And they're like, no, there's mention of slavery. There was slave. And you're like, yeah, people. I'm telling you, it'll if they can go after something as pure as Seuss, the Bible ain't far behind. And this should be a wake up call. It's not enough just to be outraged. It's not enough just to say, oh, we need to stop this. We need to start pushing back. We need to, like, when Amazon stops selling these books, when eBay won't let you list these books for sale, it looks like, we had to start our own Twitter, and then we had to start our own it looks like we have to start our own banks. So now we're going to have to start our own bookstores as well. Like, literally, it would probably be easier to secede at this time.
Excellent point, Michael. I mean, there's a barrier at the edge of every element of overregulation, which causes a slippery slope. And that's exactly what conservatism is about. We're just looking at what are the enduring good and noble truths that keep the linchpin of institutions in place that actually serve our highest good. For example, the war on family, right? Is if you accommodate somebody who was in love with a dolphin, eventually does that walk up to the wall, which is a father and a daughter. There are civil lines, and you just pointed out a great civil line, and Freud said that one would be the fall of our empire. Is the civil line that you're talking about is the line between our Judeo-Christian underpinnings, but it was canceling literature. And we also did go through, like we call it, digital book burning. I mean, there's been so many authors that have already been removed in this period of time. And not to say beside that, our shows, many of our shows were canceled. Free speech is definitely at risk, and I think you're right. Support Dr. Seuss, support everybody. I think that I just want to end with this. I really think that we need to come together we don't want to be the vindictive left, but I've been talking about Reagan's list. We need to it's almost like an insurance policy. Everybody pays $20 a month. Anybody gets canceled or attacked by the liberal left, you get the services of a team of lawyers to defend your rights. Like, we need to collectively come together against cancel culture because it has power and momentum.
Yeah, it does. And a big shout out to the people who were offended by Dr. Seuss depicting a Chinese person eating with chopsticks. Because Lord knows that's not happening.
Right. Nor is there any evil hula hooping or hula dancing in Hawaii, because that's scary, right? Because they could band together. Everybody could be wearing freedom bracelets.
Suddenly a volcano goes off and it's the end of the world.
You know what else it is? It's the end of our show. Bring it home, Michael Loftus.
You guys, as always, we had a great time. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you think in the comments below. What are some of the bullet points that we missed? What are we missing? What do you guys want to talk about? Judd and I are always going to bring you our favorite 4 and a wild card. I'll be taking over the wild card for the next 2 weeks, by the way.
I can't do it.
All right. We will see you next time. Judd, you have a great week, buddy.
God bless you. God bless America. God bless TV. We'll see you soon.